$420? Are you kidding me? Emma stared at the electricity bill in her hand, the paper trembling slightly. This is the third month in a row it's gone up. Mark peered over her shoulder, his coffee mug frozen halfway to his lips. Jesus, that's almost double what we paid when we first moved in. He set his mug down on their kitchen island with a thud. And we've been using less. Emma tossed the bill onto the growing pile of expenses that seemed determined to crush their dream of home ownership less than a year after they'd achieved it. Outside their kitchen window, the Arizona sun blazed mercilessly, as if mocking their predicament. You know what? Screw this, Emma said, grabbing her laptop. We're getting solar panels. Little did they know that this decision would pit them against not just their homeowners association, but a web of power, money, and corruption that ran deeper than the foundations of their sun-drenched suburban development. It says here the panels will pay for themselves in about 5 years, Mark said, scrolling through the proposal from Sunwise Energy. And with the tax credits, we're looking at saving almost 30% up front. Emma nodded, studying the roof diagram on her tablet. And their design puts most of the panels on the back side of the roof. Only 4 would be visible from the street. Their modest 3-bedroom in Desert Palms Estates had turned out to be a near-perfect candidate for solar. The new development, just outside Phoenix, boasted 300 days of sunshine a year, and their house had a south-facing roof with minimal shade. Did you check the HOA rules? Mark asked, the familiar crease of worry appearing between his eyebrows. Emma rolled her eyes. Yes, for the third time. There's nothing in there that prohibits solar panels. I specifically looked for it before we signed with Sunwise. Mark nodded, but the crease didn't disappear. I just don't want any surprises. Remember the Rodriguezes? They had to tear out their vegetable garden because it wasn't in the approved landscape design. That was different. This is about energy efficiency, not aesthetics. Besides, half the neighborhood has pools that waste way more resources than a few solar panels. Mark reached for her hand across the kitchen table. Okay, if you're sure, let's do it. Emma grinned, feeling a rush of excitement. I've already scheduled the installation for next Thursday. The installation took just 2 days. By Friday afternoon, the Sunwise technician was showing Emma how to use the app that would track their energy production and consumption. Emma was about to head inside when she noticed a silver BMW slowing down in front of their house. The car stopped, and a woman in large sunglasses stared at their roof for several seconds before driving on. Something about the intensity of her gaze made Emma uneasy, but she shrugged it off. The letter arrived on Monday, just 3 days after. The installation was completed. What the hell is this? Mark said, standing in the entryway with the mail. He held up an official-looking envelope with the Desert Palms Estates Homeowners Association logo in the corner. Mark ripped open the envelope and unfolded the letter. His expression darkened as he read. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Lawson, he read aloud, it has come to the attention of the Desert Palms Estates HOA Board that unauthorized modifications have been made to your property at 4872 Saguaro Lane. Specifically, solar panels have been installed on your roof without prior board approval. What? Emma snatched the letter from him. That's bullshit. There's nothing in the bylaws about needing approval for solar panels. She continued reading. As per Section 8.3 of the Community Bylaws, all exterior modifications must be submitted for architectural review before installation. Additionally, several neighbors have filed complaints that the reflective nature of the panels is causing unsafe glare conditions for surrounding properties. You are hereby ordered to remove the unauthorized installation within 14 days or face a fine of $200 per day until compliance is achieved. The letter was signed by Diane Mercer, HOA president. This can't be right, Emma said, rereading the letter. I went through those bylaws with a fine-tooth comb. Mark was already at the hall closet, pulling out the binder of homeowner documents they'd received when they closed on the house. He flipped to the tabbed section labeled CC and Rs and began scanning the pages. "Here it is, Section 8.3, he said after a minute. All exterior alterations, including but not limited to paint colors, landscaping changes, additions, and fixtures visible from common areas or neighboring properties, must be submitted to the Architectural Review Committee for approval before installation." "That's so vague it could mean anything," Emma argued. "And it doesn't specifically mention solar panels or energy equipment." "Doesn't matter. It says all exterior alterations," Mark countered, his voice tight with stress. "And we definitely didn't submit anything for review." Emma felt her face flush with anger. "Because it's ridiculous. We own this house. We should be able to put solar panels on our own roof without asking permission, especially when they'll be saving energy." "I'm sorry, but your application for the solar panel installation has been denied," said the woman on the other end of the phone. Her voice carried the practiced neutrality of someone who delivered bad news for a living. Emma gripped her phone tighter. "On what grounds exactly?" The Architectural Review Committee cited safety concerns regarding glare, as well as aesthetic incompatibility with community standards, the HOA administrator replied. "You'll receive the official notification by mail, but I wanted to give you a courtesy call since the removal deadline is approaching." "This is absurd," Emma said, struggling to keep her voice level. "There's no glare issue. These are modern panels with anti-reflective coating, and there's nothing in the community standards that prohibits renewable energy equipment." Later that afternoon, while working at her home office, Emma heard the doorbell ring. Through the peephole, she saw a tall, thin man in pressed khakis and a polo shirt holding a clipboard. "Mrs. Lawson?" he said when she opened the door. "I'm Gerald Thompson from the HOA Compliance Committee. I'm here to document the unauthorized installation." Before Emma could respond, he raised a camera and took several photos of their roof. "Excuse me," Emma said, stepping outside. "You can't just show up and start taking pictures of our house." "Actually, I can. It's in the bylaws. Section 11.2 gives the HOA right of inspection for compliance issues." His tone was smug, his smile not reaching his eyes. "I'm just documenting the violation for our records." "There is no violation," Emma insisted. "We've submitted paperwork for approval and we're requesting an appeal." Gerald consulted his clipboard. "I don't see any record of an appeal request here. I just spoke with the administrator this morning. And I left a message for Diane Mercer about getting an extension. Mrs. Peterson next door says the glare shines right into her bedroom in the morning, makes it impossible to sleep in." "Mrs. Peterson?" Emma repeated. "Our neighbor to the right? Her house doesn't even face our panels." "That's physically impossible," Gerald shrugged. "I'm just reporting what's been filed in the complaint." Something clicked in Emma's mind. "Wait, is Mrs. Peterson the woman who drives a silver BMW? Dark hair, big sunglasses?" As he walked back to his car, a black Lexus with vanity plates that read Horrulls, Emma felt a surge of determination. This wasn't just about bureaucratic red tape. Something else was going on. Desert Sun Realty occupied a prime spot in a stucco-fronted strip mall. Emma pushed through the glass door, where a young receptionist looked up from her computer. "I'm looking for Diane Mercer," Emma said. "Is she in?" While the receptionist disappeared. Through a door, Emma examined the framed photographs on the wall. One photo caught her eye, a ribbon-cutting ceremony for what appeared to be a new power substation. In the center, holding oversized scissors, was a man in an expensive suit. Beside him stood a familiar figure, Diane Mercer, her platinum blonde hair unmistakable. The caption read, "Desert Valley Electric CEO Richard Peterson and Desert Sun Realty owner Diane Mercer celebrate the expansion of power infrastructure to serve new developments in the growing North Valley region." Peterson, the same last name as their complaining neighbor. Emma quickly pulled out her phone and snapped a photo of the picture. Just then, A tall blonde woman in a crisp white pantsuit appeared. "It's all right, Jessica. I can spare a few minutes." Her gaze fixed on Emma with cool assessment. "You're from Desert Palms?" "Yes," Emma said, stepping forward with an extended hand. "Emma Lawson. We recently installed solar panels and received a denial from the architectural committee. I was hoping to discuss an extension on the removal deadline, since the appeal hearing is after that date." Diane Mercer's handshake was brief and firm. "Why don't you come into my office, Ms. Lawson?" "I understand your frustration," she began before Emma could speak. "But rules are rules. They exist to protect everyone's property values and ensure community harmony." "I appreciate that," Emma said carefully. "But I've reviewed the state laws regarding solar access, and they protect homeowners' rights to install solar devices. Within reason. When they create hazards or nuisances for others, that's a different matter." "The thing is," Emma pressed, "I don't believe our panels are creating any glare issues. The complaint mentioned Mrs. Peterson's bedroom receiving glare, but her house isn't even positioned where that would be possible. Mrs. Peterson is a valued member of our community and a personal friend. I take her concerns seriously." "Would that be Richard Peterson's wife?" Emma asked innocently. "I noticed his photo on your wall. Desert Valley Electric, right?" Diane's perfectly manicured nails tapped once on her desk. "Mr. Peterson is a prominent businessman in our community. What exactly are you implying, Mrs. Lawson?" "Nothing at all," Emma said. "I'm just trying to understand why our solar installation is causing such concern when it meets all city codes and uses non-reflective technology." "The board's decision stands," Diane said, rising from her chair. "You're welcome to present your case at the next meeting, but until then, the removal order remains in effect." On the drive home, Emma called Carlos, the Sunwise installer. "The panels are great. The HOA, not so much. They're demanding we take them down, claiming glare issues." Carlos groaned. "Again with this? Let me guess. Desert Palms Estates? We've had problems there before." Emma's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "You have? With other customers?" "3 in the last year. All got the same runaround from the HOA. 2 gave up and removed the systems. 1 fought it and eventually won, but it took months." "Do you remember their name? The one who won?" "Let me think. Martinez, I believe. Nice couple in their 60s. Corner lot on Chawla Drive, maybe?" After hanging up, Emma made a detour. Near the end of the cul-de-sac, she spotted solar panels installed on a Spanish-style home with a well-kept desert landscape. A silver-haired man was watering cacti in the front yard. Emma parked and approached him. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Martinez?" He turned, regarding her curiously. "I am. Can I help you?" "I hope so. My name is Emma Lawson. I live on Saguaro Lane. We just installed solar panels, and now the HOA is giving us trouble about removing them." His expression changed to one of understanding. "Ah, history repeats itself. Come on in. Lucia will want to hear this too." "They tried everything, fines, threats, even a lien on the house, but we stood our ground. I'm a retired attorney, so I knew they were on shaky legal footing." "What finally worked?" Emma asked. "Going public," said Lucia Martinez, setting down a tray with lemonade. "Gabriel wrote a letter to the editor of the local paper. Then we started a petition among neighbors. Once people realized what was happening, the board backed down. And what was happening exactly?" Gabriel nodded grimly. "Richard Peterson, CEO of DVE, is married to Diane Mercer's sister, Catherine. They're quite the power couple, no pun intended. And Peterson has 2 board members in his pocket, besides Diane. They approve his rate hikes without question. DVE has some of the highest rates in the state," Lucia added. "And they've been fighting the expansion of solar at the state legislature for years. So they use the HOA to block individual homeowners from installing panels," Emma concluded. Exactly. It's a conflict of interest, plain and simple. But proving it isn't easy. They're careful to couch everything in terms of aesthetic concerns and community standards. Emma spent another hour with the Martinezes, taking notes and developing a plan. By the time she left, she had copies of their correspondence with the HOA, contact information for other neighbors who'd supported them, and the name of a reporter at the local paper who'd covered their story. The Desert Palms Estates Community Center buzzed with an unusual energy. Instead of the typical sparse attendance at HOA meetings, the parking lot was full. Emma and Mark arrived early, setting up in the front row with their binder of evidence and documentation. Emma had spent the week building their case and rallying support. The reporter from the Phoenix Sun had published a piece questioning the HOA's stance on solar installations. Emma had started a Facebook group for Desert Palms homeowners, which quickly gained over 100 members sharing their own HOA horror stories. "I still think we should have tried to negotiate privately first," Mark muttered as they watched people file in. "This feels like escalation." "We tried private negotiation," Emma reminded him. "They ignored us until we made noise." At precisely 7:00 p.m., Diane Mercer swept in with 3 other board members. She faltered momentarily at the sight of the packed room but quickly composed herself. "Now we'll move to individual homeowner appeals. First is the Lawson residence, regarding an unauthorized solar installation." Emma stood, moving to the podium set up at the front of the room. "Thank you, Madam President. I'm Emma Lawson, and this is about more than just our solar panels." She laid out their case methodically, presenting the documentation of the anti-reflective nature of their panels, the impossibility of glare affecting Mrs. Peterson's home, and the state laws protecting solar access. Then she moved to the heart of the matter. "What's really concerning is the apparent conflict of interest on this board," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 3 members, including the president, have direct financial or personal connections to Desert Valley Electric, which has a vested interest in preventing homeowners from generating their own power. A murmur ran through the crowd. Diane's face had gone rigid. "That's a serious allegation, Mrs. Lawson," she said icily. "And completely unfounded." "Is it?" Emma countered. She projected a slide onto the wall screen, the photo she'd taken in Diane's office, showing her with Richard Peterson. "This is you with Richard Peterson, CEO of Desert Valley Electric, at the opening of a new substation. What the caption doesn't mention is that he's also your brother-in-law," Emma continued, displaying another document on the screen. "This is the Arizona Corporation Commission filing, showing that board member Gerald Thompson owns 5,000 shares of DVE parent company Southwest Energy Partners. And board member Lisa Oakes worked as DVE's regulatory compliance officer until last year." Diane banged her gavel. "This is outrageous. These personal attacks have no place." "They're not personal attacks. They're relevant facts," Emma interrupted. "Facts that should have been disclosed when you were voting on matters affecting Desert Valley Electric's business interests." From the back of the room, a voice called out, "Is that true, Diane? You've been blocking solar to help your brother-in-law's company?" Mark stood and joined Emma at the podium. "We're not here to create division," he said, his calm voice bringing some order back to the room. "We just want fair treatment under the rules and the law. Our solar installation meets all state requirements and doesn't violate any specific HOA standards." Gabriel Martinez stood up. "For those who don't know me, I fought this same battle last year. The board tried every trick to make me remove my solar panels, until public pressure forced them to back down. It's a pattern, folks." Diane banged her gavel again. "This meeting will come to order. Mrs. Lawson, your time is up." "Actually," came a new voice from the doorway, "I think you should hear them out." Everyone turned to see a middle-aged man in a suit standing at the entrance. A woman, with a camera beside him. "Jason Chen, Phoenix Sun," he said, holding up press credentials. We're doing a follow-up piece on HOA governance and solar access. Mind if we observe? Diane's face had gone pale. This is a private meeting for residents only. Actually, said a woman from the second row, the bylaws state that meetings are open to invited guests of residents, and I invited them. It was Mrs. Rodriguez, whose vegetable garden had been forcibly removed the previous year. We'll take a 15-minute recess, Diane announced. Board members, please join me in the office. As they filed out, the room erupted, in conversation. Mark turned to Emma, his expression a mix of admiration and concern. You really stirred the hornet's nest, he said. I'm not sure whether to be impressed or terrified. By the time the board members returned, a sense of solidarity had formed among the residents present. Diane resumed her seat, her composure recovered but a new tension evident in her posture. After consultation, the board has decided to table the Lawson appeal temporarily while we review the documentation presented tonight, she announced. In the meantime, no fines will be assessed, and the removal order is suspended pending further review. It wasn't a complete victory, but Emma knew it was significant. They'd forced the board to back down, at least temporarily. Additionally, Diane continued, her voice tight, in the interest of transparency, the board will establish a special committee to review our solar installation guidelines and ensure they comply with state law. We invite interested residents to volunteer for this committee. Hands shot up around the room, including Emma's and Mark's. As they walked to their car, Mark slipped his arm around Emma's waist. You know this isn't over, right? They're just regrouping. I know, Emma said. But they know we're watching now. All of us are. So what's the next move, neighborhood revolutionary? Emma smiled. We get on that committee. We revise the guidelines. We make it impossible for them to block solar installations without explicitly admitting their real motives. And if they try, then Mr. Chen gets an exclusive on corporate corruption in suburban HOAs. Emma's phone buzzed with a text. Gabriel Martinez sending information about an attorney specializing in HOA disputes. Plus, we've got reinforcements now. 3 months later, monthly electric bill, $28.17, Emma read from her phone, looking up with a grin. And that includes the connection fee. Mark whistled, setting down his coffee mug. Down from over 400. I'd call that a win. Through their kitchen window, they could see the solar panels that had caused such controversy, now joined by similar installations on 6 other homes in their neighborhood. The special committee, which included Emma, Gabriel Martinez, and surprisingly Lisa Oakes, who had resigned from the board after the contentious meeting, had established new guidelines that explicitly protected homeowners' rights to install solar equipment. Diane Mercer had stepped down as HOA president the previous month, citing personal reasons. The real reason, as everyone suspected, had more to do with the Phoenix Sun article that had exposed the conflicts of interest on the board and raised questions about Desert Valley Electric's influence over local development. Their doorbell rang, and Emma went to answer it. Gabriel Martinez stood on their porch with a bottle of champagne. It's official, he announced, holding up his phone. The Arizona Corporation Commission just announced their investigation into Desert Valley Electric's business practices, including allegations of improper influence over homeowners associations. As Mark fetched glasses and they toasted their victory, small but significant, Emma reflected on the journey. What had begun as a simple effort to reduce their electricity bill had evolved into something much more meaningful. A community finding its voice, neighbors connecting over shared concerns, and a reminder that systems of power could be challenged when people stood together. Outside, the Arizona sun beat down relentlessly, but now, instead of just creating heat and expense, it was generating something else too. Energy independence, yes, but also the power of collective action and the promise of change, one rooftop at a time. To the sun, Emma said, raising her glass.